Waking up in the morning, knowing I had more new Robotech to watch, got me out of bed pretty quickly. Thanks to my brother having Robotech Art 1, I knew this was the end of the saga for Rick, Lisa, Minmei, and everyone. And there were other characters to meet, other challenges to face, other aliens to fight. But I was anxious to find out what happened to the intrepid crew of the SDF-1 and the Zentraedi. So, in the wee hours of the dawn, while my brother and Bash were still crashed out elsewhere, I settled in with Fortress Maximus, who was basically my pretend SDF-1 at the time, and Jetfire somewhere nearby, and started up the final volume of the MACROSS Saga. And the last thing I remembered from the night before was our heroes staging a daring gamble to capture the Robotech Factory satellite, to secure their own ability to make a new fleet to protect the Earth and spread mankind out into the galaxy. Admiral Gloval was en route to tour this most recent acquisition personally. He and Claudia are guided by Exodore and the other Robotech engineers and scientists, and it's cool to see that this factory is mostly automated, mass-producing Zentraedi arms on a grand scale. Lisa had been going over the events of the early morning all day in her mind. Initially, she'd been proud of Rick for parting from Minmei and doing his duty. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized how angry he was and how she'd come across. She'd understood Rick's deep feelings for Minmei and had always maintained that he should follow his heart, even if that meant she herself might lose him to that naive little singing star. And really, she felt embarrassed a bit, admitting to herself that she might have used her position as his superior to order him to go pursue KHYRON out of more than a little jealousy. In any case, the whole thing seemed so melodramatic. It's no wonder she tended to focus on her work more than matters of the heart. Fortunately for her, Claudia was an expert on such things and could see Lisa's heart was weighing heavy. She knew right away what must be causing it and made herself comfortable as she attempted to guide her friend through these stormy waters.
What could have made me say a thing like that?
So there you are. I thought I might find you sitting in here. Why so glum, chum? Come on, tell me what Rick has done now, Lisa.
Please.
You're not in any mood to talk, huh? Well, honey, sometimes he clears the air. It helps when you get things out in the open.
What makes you think I'm upset?
Just woman's intuition. I thought you might like to try my prescription for pain. Hot tea can do wonders for open wounds.
Such a gourmet product was really hard to come by in recent days. The fact that Claudia had some, and she was willing to share it with Lisa, spoke volumes of their friendship and her generosity. Claudia sympathizes with Lisa and the pain she feels, reminding her she knows exactly what that's like, and offers Lisa the best advice she has. Not to let too much time go by before telling Rick how she really feels about him. After all, who knows how much time any of them had in their line of work. Lisa knew it should be just that easy, but it's easier said than done. However, she valued Claudia's advice and determined to follow it to the letter, T and all. Rick, however, was determined not to let her. They'd been out patrolling and searching for KHYRON, who'd disappeared somewhere out into the world. That failure to find him, mixed with his heart in flux over seeing Minmei again and her disappearing as well once more, and he felt that was Lisa's fault. She'd cost him the chance to liberate Minmei from Kyle that morning, and now who knew what danger Minmei was in? When the chief informed Rick that Lisa wanted to see him right away, that really stirred up his temper. He made sure to fill out a very detailed and orderly report for her, unwilling to give her any leeway or excuse to razz him the way she'd always done. It's like she always found ways to bully him or reasons to pull rank.
Oh, by the way, I don't know what your particular problem is, but it really doesn't look too good for you to be hanging around in lingerie shops.
Lecture? Skull 23, what in blazes are you doing?
Huh?
Just where were you at the meeting? Asleep? I'm sick and tired of repeating myself. That kind of flying will give you away to the aliens.
But...
This is no time for acrobatics, you idiot!
But all the other pilots were flying really dangerously, so I thought that...
Shut up, Hunter. You follow your instructions, you hear me?
Okay, I gotcha.
Is that the way to speak to superiors? Look around, wise guy. You're the only one who's flying dangerously.
Roger.
I shouldn't have to remind you that it was your job to protect me, but even when you commandeered that battloid, the enemy made mincemeat of you. I sometimes wonder how you became squadron leader.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, Miss Commander, that fighting that alien was no walk in the park.
It's like she was always pulling him away from Minmei, it seemed. Like that was all some big joke to her. It made Rick wonder what Lisa's deal really was. Sometimes she could be so caring and supportive, but other times she was just so... confusing.
Well, look who's here. Hey, why the long face? Did you come to bury Caesar?
Hello, Rick. I came to say that I'm sorry.
What's happened to that old command confidence? This isn't like you at all.
No, Lieutenant Hunter, I don't suppose it is at that. Anyway, I said what I came to say. Now I have to get back to my duties on the bridge. Get well.
Thanks, Lisa. Will you come see me again?
I don't think so, Lieutenant. I'll be too busy.
Huh.
He really did care about Lisa. He even rather liked her, usually. But he could never tell where they stood, and what she really wanted. It was hard to say if she was just messing with him in the end. Well, he was sick of it. Sick of her always breathing down his neck, always interfering with his personal life. He was just done with it all. He came into the command center to deliver his report directly to her and give her another special report as well. At that moment, ironically, Lisa was genuinely excited to see Rick, to not only apologize for her own immaturity from before, but to finally tell him how she truly felt about him deep down and stop all of these fits and starts they'd been through and work things out so they could just move forward. Vanessa doesn't miss much, and it was incredibly obvious to her what had Captain Hayes feeling so bubbly. Yet as Rick entered, she could see very clearly that Captain Hunter was not feeling the same way at the moment.
Boy, is she ever hung up on him. Uh-oh, look who's coming.
Oh, hello, Rick.
Here's my complete report, Captain, with my compliments. Will that be all?
Rick,
Captain, I said, is that all?
Rick, what do you mean?
I don't want to take up too much of your time.
What's the matter with you?
What's the matter with me? I just came in from an all-night patrol, and the first thing I hear is to report to you. Don't you think I understand military procedure? Well,
Just give me a chance to explain.
Wow, this was not going well. Here was Lisa trying to build something with Rick, even ready to admit she'd been harsh with him before. But he was setting fire to any chance of it happening. They could have left it there, and Lisa would have been sure never to bother him again if this is what he really thought. She was heartbroken in that moment, and wondered if Claudia's words about not waiting were true, except, as it turns out, she'd already let too much time go by. Lisa was already too late. Rick wasn't done, though. He kept laying into her in one of the biggest, jerkiest ways he could have.
and another thing, Captain Hayes, my personal life is just that, personal, do you understand? Whoever I choose to speak with does not concern you.
Okay, dude, chill. You've made your point. But man, Rick was really on one, and he just keeps going.
I understand.
Like Vanessa here, for example. Am I right or not?
I really don't think I'm...
Hey, why don't we grab a bite to eat?
There was a time Vanessa would have been elated to be asked out by Rick Hunter. But, oh man, not like this. Not this way. And certainly not while she knew how much Lisa liked him. She tries to keep some decorum and diffuse the situation for both their sakes. But Rick really was trying to burn the house down this time.
Please, Captain Hunter. As you can see, I'm still on duty.
So what? You can still play hooky, can't you?
If you both excuse me, I've had just about enough of this.
Of course, Rick did this just to prove a point to Lisa, and that point was made. But Vanessa now was incredibly angry at Captain Hunter, and certainly didn't appreciate being used by him as a tool in whatever game Rick had in mind here. Especially when she knew how Lisa really felt about him. And after this horrific display, it was time he knew just how badly he'd messed up and what a jerk he was.
I don't think that was a very nice thing to do.
And why not?
It's obvious, sir. Captain Hayes just happens to be in love with you. That's why not.
You mean Lisa is in love? And with me? You gotta be kidding. Ha! The only thing she's in love with is her job.
Lisa walked down the hall, trying to outwardly maintain some professionalism, but inside she was fuming. She couldn't believe she was actually going to apologize to him. After this, she'd sooner apologize to KHYRON. There was no way Vanessa wasn't going to go discuss the whole scene with Kim and Sammy.
I just don't understand. What's the problem with her?
Oh, it was just a lover's quarrel, that's all.
It seems so obvious that Captain Hayes is in love with Captain Hunter, but she doesn't have the courage to tell him about it.
That is really ridiculous. Why doesn't he just be a man about it and tell her that he loves her too, huh?
I've always said Vanessa might see and hear everything, but it's Kim who cuts to the chase about it and is definitely the most pragmatic one. And then, of course, there's Sammy's take on it all.
Has it ever occurred to you that perhaps he doesn't share the same feelings on the subject that Captain Hayes does?
If he's got a heart at all, he's got to realize how she feels about him.
Maybe not.
Well, if I felt that way about a man, I'd just come right out and tell him about my feelings.
I know, but you do that to almost every man you meet.
As evening fell, their shifts at their duty stations complete, Lisa found herself still worked up, still restless, but most of all, still confused, still feeling bad about how all of this went with Rick. And she still wanted to make amends all around. I mean, after everything they'd been through, it was the least they could do to still be friends, if nothing else. Outside of his place, though, she hesitated, second-guessing if this wouldn't just make things worse. Maybe she was just setting herself up for more heartbreak. But she's saved from that decision, not to mention the rain, by Claudia once again.
Planning to drink that tea in the rain? Why don't you go up and knock?
Why? He doesn't want to see me.
Not if you've made up his mind for him. Listen, if you're not ready to talk to him right now, why don't you just come over to my place? We'll dry off and talk. Well, while you're thinking about it,
Claudia,
see you soon.
But... Oh dear, now what? Rick, what could I say to you that would make any difference at all? Nothing, I guess.
I've made some nice hot tea. That ought to hit the spot. Here we go.
Claudia, at the risk of sounding like a pushy guest, you wouldn't happen to have anything around a bit stronger, would you?
Huh?
You have any wine around the house?
Wine? Mm-hmm. You got it.
Well, get it.
Well, okay.
There are certain things you don't notice watching these as a kid that really stand out when you're an adult. In this case, it's the look on Lisa's face as she watches the wine pour into the glass. Her tone as she arrived at Claudia's house and speaks to her friend is jovial and confident initially, but that look on her face as sadness washes over her. She's ready to fill that void tearing into her heart with the vintage that Claudia is pouring. And she doesn't take her time with it either. Claudia seems slightly alarmed by this, and that look Lisa gives her empty glass reflects the emptiness that's beginning to overwhelm her.
So how long does it take for the hurting to stop?
You sound like you're giving up.
When he came in this morning with his report, I really wanted to apologize, but then before I could, he started chewing me out.
Well, what did he say?
It's kind of sweet to watch Claudia assess her friend's condition and decide that more wine is prescribed for her at the moment, allowing it to do its work as Lisa unloads the feelings she's suffering. As heart-wrenching as it is to see Lisa like this, it's a very touching moment as these two women come together in support and commiseration. Lisa continues to exposit to Claudia.
Only that his personal life was his own business and that I should stay out of it.
Lisa, what did you expect him to say when he doesn't know how much you really care for him?
Glass number 2 goes as fast as the first, but Claudia keeps it coming, along with her solid guidance, even if Lisa remains resistant.
Claudia, I've tried to be honest about it, but I don't think it would really matter to him.
You don't know that.
Well, it's not a bad guess.
Maybe not, but it sure is a negative one.
Well, just chalk it up to the wine.
The situation isn't hopeless, Lisa. At least the man you love is still alive. Oh, I don't want to cause you any more pain, because I know you've had that experience too, but when Roy passed away, this became a very necessary crutch for me. Now nothing seems to be important anymore.
There is a difference, though.
Why?
You and Roy began hitting it off right from the very start.
If that's what you think, honey, forget it. We were at each other's throats all the time. We nearly drove each other crazy.
Oh?
Do you want to laugh? I'll tell you about him.
Let me tell you something. Right now, I'll take all the laughs I can get.
As Claudia and Lisa worked to lift each other's spirits, Rick was alone at his place, his own spirits feeling pretty low. He kept thinking about what Vanessa had said, telling him that Lisa was in love with him. He dismissed it outright, not believing it for a second, at least at first. But it had bothered him all day. Lisa and Vanessa had worked together closely for years, and were sure to have talked in that time. And Vanessa would have no reason to lie to Rick. All in all, Rick felt stupid anyway, remorseful for being so hot-headed. That kind of temper gets pilots killed when they come in all cocky, reading a situation wrong. He certainly felt like he'd crashed and burned on this mission. It felt like it was already too late to pull up and recover. If only he had listened to whatever Lisa had to say. Back at Claudia's, we get the full story of how Claudia met Roy Fokker years before, and it's a story we've already visited for the most part in this video series, after Roy's untimely death. But when watching this show, this is a fun moment to witness this history and hear Roy's voice again. To watch as he tries to woo Claudia with many little gifts, see how much she played hard to get, being as repulsed by him as she was intrigued. And just knowing that Claudia and Roy had the same fits and starts, the same will they won't they as Rick and Lisa. Lisa finds all of this as comforting as she does entertaining, and can't hardly believe the roller coaster Roy and Claudia rode together, even about the parts Lisa was apparently there for. The thing is, what finally really got Claudia and Roy together into their deep and passionate romance was they both began to be honest with each other. They dropped whatever facades and pretenses they had and showed each other their true selves. And through that, they came together as one, showing us all what true love is really about. It's something they had to learn, at least Roy sure did. And I can't help but think that if he hadn't died before, if he'd been around at this time, he definitely would have been there to teach Rick all the lessons he himself had had to learn the hard way. He almost certainly would have helped Rick see Lisa's true feelings, and most likely would have worked to guide the two of them together, much like Claudia had been trying to do. I mean, he certainly had Minmei's number figured out, even way back at the beginning.
So just cheer up and go on back to Minmei, kid. She's waiting for you. Oh, one thing. Girls like her can be sort of fickle sometimes, know what I mean?
And ultimately, there's nothing wrong with Minmei, and she actually is a wonderful person in many ways, but even Rick had questioned if they even really truly belong together, no matter their feelings for each other.
How do I tell her? I'm a pilot and you're a big star now. You know it wouldn't have worked for us anyway.
Rick continued to mull all of this in his mind. His feelings for Minmei, his past experiences with Lisa. He even wondered what Roy would do in his position. He reconsidered things Max had pointed out to him before. And then, almost suddenly, as such things tend to do, Vanessa's words finally penetrated that thick head and he realized it all added up. It really was true.
I don't think that was a very nice thing to do.
Why not?
It's very simple. Captain Hayes just happens to be in love with you. That's why not.
Lisa is in love with me. Of course. That explains the picture she gave me and everything. Lisa!
He wanted to see her right away. He had to see her. To apologize, to talk things over, to let her know he'd been such an idiot. He pounded on the door to her place, but realized pretty quick she wasn't home. Oh, where could she be? Rick didn't give up. He called the base, but they confirmed she'd gone home. Oh, great, where else could she be? All he knew was he had to find her.
Oh no, I've got to find her! Where is she?
Claudia was finishing her romantic tale of her and Roy, reiterating to Lisa the idea that they all only have so much time in this world, so much time together. And her one regret was that it took her and Roy so long to sort it out, giving them only a few years to enjoy together before... Well, that's why she continued to hammer at Lisa the need to be honest, to come forth with your feelings. Because nothing is worse than losing that time with the ones you love.
But even that night, I couldn't tell him.
I would never have thought Roy Foker capable of such sensitivity.
It was quite a revelation for me at that time, although I am sure deep down inside I knew it all along. But look at all the happiness I lost with him, just because I wasn't able to return any of the confidence he had given to me. My biggest mistake was not saying what was in my heart. I just hope that you won't let the same thing happen to you, Lisa. Huh? Now who do you suppose that could be? Commander Grant. Yes, of course, Captain. She's right here. Well, of course you can come over. We'll be waiting for you.
You're kidding!
He called from across the street.
You're serious?
You bet I am. Now I want to have a drink with this fella, okay? So will you get out of here?
What'll I say?
What will you say? If you don't know that, then we've wasted this whole evening.
Anybody home in there?
Prince Charming's here. Coming! Go on now and take this with you. It's a great little icebreaker.
Hey, come on, it's pouring out here.
Don't keep him waiting, Lisa.
Good night.
It's adorable seeing how flush and nervous Lisa is, knowing Rick came to find her. It was the last thing she'd expected, as joyous as it was. But being all aflutter, not to mention a little tipsy, it was a big leap of faith to walk out that door, armed with the tea and Claudia's advice, and face the man that she loved. Fortunately, as they walked slowly together, he was at least as nervous as she was, and they didn't say much at first, their conversation being trivial and benign, but in a cute way. Lisa realizes how silly they're being, though, and finally her command training kicks in, and she lets Rick know they should sit down and have a nice and serious conversation about things. Rick is glad one of them finally broke the awkwardness and happily obliges.
Well, I guess now's as good a time as any. My place is right down here, but I don't have anything to offer you.
Don't worry, Rick. I've got just the thing right here.
Hey, you're a lifesaver, Lisa.
As she takes his arm, they continue their walk, enjoying the sound of the rain on the lamplighted streets, finally together, ready to begin a true romance with each other. Being a little kid who was eating, breathing, and sleeping Transformers, or Ninja Turtles around that time, I loved the amazing machines, mecha, and gargantuan spaceships of Robotech the most. But even at that tender age, I really appreciated the characters, their plights, their dreams, their happy times, and their sad ones too. The tribulations, triumphs, victories, and losses of the crew of the SDF-1 felt like my own. Ever since Rick Hunter met Minmei after crashing into her bedroom and then repeatedly saved her life, I cheered for our apparent hero to get the girl. I felt so invested in the two of them and knew they were destined to be together. At least until she won the Miss Macross competition, and that changed everything. I felt Rick's pain as Minmei suddenly had less and less time for him, and it seemed like maybe it wasn't going to work out for these two. But really, for me personally, the girls in the show that I liked, or was slowly discovering were my type or whatever, were on the bridge. Specifically, I kind of thought Lisa was, neat. And honestly, I'd always kind of had a thing for Vanessa too. And it's no wonder that my first couple crushes in elementary school were girls with glasses. But I digress. Minmei was bubbly and cute, but Lisa was just, cool. And the closer Rick got to her, the more I found myself also intrigued by her. And like I'm sure many of you did when you first discovered this show, I started really hoping that maybe Rick would forget about the flighty and fickle Minmei and see what he had right in front of him. Funny how that goes, especially considering how they started out.
So that's our civilian pilot. I wondered why he didn't know how to fly his plane.
Who's that old sourpuss, Roy?
Old sourpuss?
That old sourpuss is our control operator, Lisa Hayes. And if she looks like an old sourpuss to you, you're not as grown up as I thought you were, Rick.
Now listen, Commander Fokker, you'd better have a good explanation for turning a VOL.06 fighter over to an amateur civilian pilot. You could be court-martialed for this, you know.
Ooh, she's mad.
As for you, Rick Hunter, you're in a lot of trouble whether you know it or not.
This whole thing's her fault.
I think I'd apologize to her if I were you, Rick. Women her age can get awful mean, you know.
Technically, this isn't how it started out for them, or even the first time they saw each other.
This is SDF-1 Control, calling VF-102. You there on the exhibition grounds were on combat alert. Why haven't you taken off?
You don't mean me, do you? Hey, what? Huh? Hey,
Don't waste any more time. Take off immediately and
What?
join the fighter squadron.
what do you mean take off? The runway is demolished.
Runway 2 is clear. You're fully armed and your jets are overheating, so prepare for immediate takeoff.
All set, sir. Good hunting.
Well, okay, if you insist. I can't get control of it.
This is SDF-1 Control, calling VF-102. Pull out. You're diving right at us.
Tell me something I don't know. I can't pull out. All the controls have lost their power.
Have you tried switching to configuration B?
B? What's that mean?
You don't know? Impossible. All right, listen. Pull down the control mark B on the left side of your console.
Okay, I found it. What's it doing?
Actually, their connection starts even before that, going back to the very first moment of Rick Hunter's introduction in the series.
It's an unidentified incoming aircraft, Lisa.
Attention aircraft approaching on course 107. Please identify yourself. Please identify yourself.
This is Rick Hunter, invitation number 201.
That's confirmed as an invitation from Lieutenant Commander Fokker. Follow course 57 for landing.
Roger.
We see from the very beginning that, for all the hard times Lisa may sometimes put Rick through, it's usually for his own good. She's always been a source of guidance and support for him, whereas Minmei, who can be sweet and caring, tends to throw Rick's life out of whack, no matter her good intentions. As exciting and glamorous as Minmei can be in the way she lights up a room and the hearts of the people around her, it's hard not to cheer for Lisa to be the one that finally wins Rick's heart. Heck, Claudia, Max, even the other girls from the bridge, basically all the other characters in the show, were all rooting for Lisa in her endeavor. And it looks like, after years of dancing around the matter with each other, Rick finally realized what he had in Lisa Hayes and how much she cared for him. He also realized he felt the same way, and he truly wanted to be with her. When they walked off together in the rain, arm in arm, I cheered as I watched this all by myself that fateful Saturday morning, making my way through the final volume of the MACROSS Saga. I was really happy for them, and even happier still when it looked like they had an actual date to go on. Rick was out on patrol taking in the up-and-coming forest reclamation area that had been reseeded since the Earth's cataclysm. And when he radioed Lisa to report on it, he asks her then and there if she'd like to go check it out with him, together. She's taken aback at first with his abruptness, not used to Rick showing such initiative, especially over an open frequency. But she's all for it, and seems so excited at the prospect. We find her that next morning, humming and singing to herself as she prepares a little picnic basket for them to enjoy, taste-testing her handiwork, making sure it's all to perfection. As she looks at the map, she can hardly imagine that, after all these years, after walling off her heart since the tragedy of her fiancé long ago, she could now open it up fully as she began this romantic journey, her heart feeling full of joy once again. Rick, meanwhile, was also getting ready, making sure not to look scruffy or uncouth for this outing when the phone rings. Figuring it's Lisa coordinating with him, he goes to answer the phone, but is very surprised when it turns out to be someone else.
Is that Lisa? I wonder if I'm late or something. Hello, I'm almost ready. I'll be...
Hi there, it's me.
Huh? I believe you must have the wrong...
Oh, Rick, it's me. You know, Minmei.
Oh, Minmei! Where have you been?
All over the place. Where are you now?
Home, silly.
Oops, that's right. I completely forgot.
It's a ditzy but sweet moment of Minmei, but also kind of reveals a certain apprehension behind this call, a nervousness. Like she's actually risking more than just taking a few minutes to reach out to an old friend.
I called to thank you for saving me the other day. I mean it.
You don't have to thank me.
Listen, Rick, are you free today?
Not really. What's up?
I've been hoping... Could you make it over to Monument City today?
No. He can't make it, Minmei, sorry. He's got a date with Lisa. I'm glad to see Rick realizes this too, as he politely declines her invitation, which I'm sure wasn't easy for him to do. But Minmei is rather insistent.
You mean now?
If you can.
Well, I kind of made plans already.
Please, Rick, I'm only here for today, and I'm sure whoever you're going to meet won't mind.
Maybe.
Besides, you can see them anytime.
Well,
Oh, please.
Rick, buddy, no, don't even think about it. You are not going to screw this up with Lisa, you hear me? I swear, even being a little kid, I felt more tension in this moment than I had when Rick, Lisa, and Ben were face to face with the dreaded Dolza. To see Rick rationalize and finally relent was absolutely crushing to me, even as it made Minmei perk up.
I suppose it's all right, Minmei. And besides, it's not every day I get to spend some time with an old friend like you, is it?
Does that mean you'll be coming?
Okay.
That's perfect. I'll be waiting.
Oh boy.
Oh, dang it, Rick! I was so upset while watching this, and just knew it wasn't going to end well. It seems Rick had the same premonition as he quickly worked to mitigate the damage he knew damn well it was bound to cause between he and Lisa.
Now what am I going to tell Lisa? Maybe I could tell her it's an old school chum. Oh no. She's already left to meet me. I hope she doesn't get too upset.
Ugh, stupid idiot. I mean, on the one hand, it doesn't actually seem like he has romantic intentions going to visit Minmei at this time. We've seen how he's been worried about her, especially after he's witnessed the actual abuse that Kyle puts her through. And they really have always been friends, more than lovers or anything of that sort. It's in Rick's nature to fly to the rescue of the people he cares about. After all, he's come to Lisa's rescue at least 4 times that I can think of. not to mention all the times he's already rescued Minmei. And I can see where he wants to be there for his friend. It's just that, does he really have to screw over Lisa to do it? Speaking of which, Lisa is waiting so patiently, so hopefully, wondering why Rick would be so late. It was so unlike him. But even she had faith that he wouldn't let her down. She was just hoping he was all right. Rick comes flying into the airport in the same plane Minmei had gifted him after she won the Miss Macross contest. As he hops out, he's immediately greeted by a familiar voice calling to him just off the tarmac.
I'm over here, Rick. Hi. Hey, how you been, Flyboy?
Minmei? Hey!
I'm so glad you could come.
I didn't realize it was you with that hat and those glasses on.
That's the point, silly. I wear them so people won't know who I am.
That Minmei is trying to remain incognito makes sense, since she is not only a celebrity, but quite possibly the world's most well-known celebrity after being the voice that defeated Dolza. But her disguise is also a clue that she's hiding from more than just paparazzi. Minmei is so glad Rick could make it, though. She hangs on his arm and feeds him compliment after compliment, so much so that Rick is actually a little put off by it all. Not only did it not seem like her, he was concerned they'd only draw unwanted attention to themselves. And quite frankly, the last thing he needed was to run into someone from headquarters or anywhere who could report back to Lisa. At least he was savvy enough not to wear his uniform. And I guess in that sense, they were both kinda in disguise, and in a way, not being their real selves. That worried Rick, but Minmei was determined to make this Rick's best day ever.
Come on, let's go. Rick.
Okay.
There must be some way of showing him how I feel, how grateful I am. Ah, I know just the place. Beautiful view, soft music. He'll love it. At least I hope so. If he doesn't, I don't know what I'll do. You like it? My producer has a friend who owns a timeshare here. Movie stars come in all the time.
Who cares about a bunch of old movie stars anyway?
Well, I'm a movie star and you like me, don't ya?
I liked you before you were a movie star.
You mean now you don't like me because I'm famous?
I like you. I wonder if Lisa's okay.
I wonder if Rick's okay. He must have been delayed. I bet that's it. Of course. Something must have come up, that's what it is.
Lisa being stood up like this is made all the worse by just how amazingly patient and understanding she's being. And at least Rick recognizes that this is super uncool of him to do, especially the more Minmei lays it on thick, turning this little get-together into an actual date, when he knew the date he was supposed to be on was with Lisa. It doesn't help that Minmei gives him a very personalized gift.
Rick, I've got something for you. Are you all right?
Sure.
Here, open it.
What?
This is for saving my life. It's my way of saying thank you.
You didn't have to get me anything.
Please take it. I bought it especially for you.
Well, okay, sure.
Go on, open it.
Right now?
Why not?
Oh, thank you.
Do you really like it?
Of course, it's beautiful.
You're not just saying that, are ya?
I'll always cherish it, and I'll think of you whenever I wear it.
It looks good with that suit.
It does. It makes me feel a little bit like Errol Flynn.
All you need now is a sword.
Here we go.
Why do waiters always seem to serve people at precisely the wrong time?
Why do movie stars always seem to complain about everything?
Anyway, here's a toast to better times to come.
Amen.
The two toast to their reunion, and Rick can't help but feel it's like when they were teenagers again, like back when they first met. However, Minmei reflects on that time and how it feels just so long ago. Her gaze out the window reveals the heavy burdens life has placed on her since those carefree days back on the SDF-1. Then, suddenly, she asks him if his feelings have changed since then, if he even still feels the same way. It takes him a few moments to realize she means when he'd confessed his love for her before the battle with the Zentraedi Armada, when the world ended. There was a time where Rick would not have hesitated an instant at declaring his feelings for Minmei, at taking her hand and running off to live happily ever after together. But as he thought about it, how much had changed, how much he'd grown, and how close he'd grown to Lisa in those intervening years since he met Minmei, and she'd gone off to follow her dreams. Lisa. What was Rick doing? Who was he kidding? What was he expecting out of coming to see Minmei? She was being so sweet, but it was all a little much and just didn't quite fit right. Rick didn't know how to answer her, but before he could quite find the words, their reunion was crashed by an uninvited guest.
I don't know what to say. I still think about you. Sometimes at night
Let go of me!
Huh?
Sir, just a moment. You must have a tie.
I've been looking for you. Don't you know I've scheduled a press conference for you? Come on, we're leaving.
No.
What did you say to me? Don't be ridiculous, Minmei. Do you realize the strings I had to pull to get those reporters out here today?
Minmei, if this is a bad time, we could meet later.
We don't have to. I'm not going.
Oh, yes, you are,
Take
Minmei.
your hands off me. You're hurting me. Who do you think you are, anyway?
This is how a professional acts. Attractive, isn't it? Huh. Now cut the whining. Why don't you try to act your age for once? People are waiting for you.
I'm tipsy. I couldn't possibly talk to any reporters now.
What? We'll see about that.
What?
That ought to sober you up. Now come on and stop acting like an idiot. Now let's go.
Wait, she doesn't want to go.
Can't you understand, Hunter? She's got too many things she's got to take care of. Oh, and don't worry about lunch. We'll cover it. That's what expense accounts are for. I think you better go home. Come on. What's the matter with you anyway? Don't you care about your career anymore? You've given up everything.
Oh man, what a scene they all made. If you didn't hate Kyle before, then you are a heartless monster if you don't after this. I'm sure part of Rick would have loved to jump up and knock Kyle down, but he also seemed torn on exactly what to do, as it seemed Minmei had snuck off to be with him, shirking responsibilities that probably ruined the day of a number of people, more than just Kyle. Yet it was hard not to feel so bad for Minmei, and the way Kyle blatantly humiliated her in his anger, and in front of Rick too. She dropped her disguise, and it was clear this was a woman suffering greatly. A woman fighting against the repression and control of this sociopath that had been using her. I think it's a bold and kind of brilliant, albeit passive-aggressive, move for her to swig the rest of her drink and claim to be too drunk to work. And I kind of applaud her resistance against her oppressor. But people like Kyle are good at turning around any attack you throw at them and make it worse. And Rick seemed to intrinsically understand this as he remained rather neutral in this ordeal. I mean, he did yell at Kyle to stop, but beyond that, it would have made a scene and probably gotten the police involved and maybe even a court-martial wondering why Rick assaulted a civilian. As much as Rick hated this, there really was nothing he could do, even as Minmei called out to him to rescue her from this. Rick had resigned himself to letting Minmei sort out her own dilemmas, which he'd thought to do before when he first saw how the situation with Kyle was. But this realization had him really wanting to drown his sorrows about it. He felt awful for Minmei and what life had given her. She deserved better. As he ordered another drink, the barkeep cut him off. A good idea if Rick wanted to drive, let alone fly home. And there was still the matter of what he was going to say to Lisa. Sammy and Kim were sharing the gossip about the date Captain Hayes was on with Captain Hunter when it seemed Lisa was calling their station. Lieutenant Mitchell answered, but Lisa heard the girls already freaking out that if Lisa was calling, wondering if Captain Hunter was there, that meant a catastrophe for them as a couple, and it was doomed, and this meant Hunter wasn't really interested in her, and... Lisa hung up, more than a little annoyed at their chorus. She was legitimately worried if Rick had maybe been hurt or in an accident at this point. Where in the world was he? Rick was on his way back to the airport, defeated and depressed, figuring Lisa had probably gone back home by now. But if he could still catch her... Yet the way to the airport was blocked, and when Rick hears that it's due to a Zentraedi attack, he kicks into soldier mode, runs the barricade, and heads in to help. It wasn't completely an altruistic move, though. He knew that the trouble at the airport must be stopped, but also knew that it was the only way he could fly back to town and have a chance to still see Lisa. The sooner this battle was over, the better his chances were. Besides, if he could get his name on the incident report, he'd have an alibi in where he'd been all day when Lisa asked. It was like hitting two birds with one stone for our poor, flawed hero. The attack was sizable, including battle pods and power armor, and it's too bad to see this guy is one of the malcontent Zentraedi, as he was one of the first to be entranced by the spell of the Minmei doll the three spies brought back. And their attack is pretty horrific. They terrorize everyone and everything, firing indiscriminately inside the main terminal. And just before the battle pod steps on Rick's personal fan jet, which from this angle looks suspiciously like his old Mockingbird and not the plane Minmei gave him, the leg of the pod is blown off.
Zentraedi rebels, you are surrounded. Throw down your weapons at once or we will take immediate action. Repeat, throw down your weapons.
Rick rallies this mix of Destroids and Veritechs as he takes command in his borrowed Spartan Mk2. Ordering the nearby Phalanx Mk12 to fire a flurry of missiles into the area. The missiles release a tear gas on the Zentraedi, instantly incapacitating the giants not encased in mecha. The Destroids rush in to easily take out the battle pod, while Rick decides to teach a particularly painful lesson to the apparent leader of this little uprising. A Battloid makes short work of the distracted power armor, and before long, Rick and his ragtag squad have rounded up all of the giants, defeating them with non-lethal means. Rick orders them to be kept locked up to be interrogated by the intelligence division. He's glad he could at least make some difference somehow by coming here today and help in this situation, even if he couldn't help Minmei. But he still had to get back to Lisa and try to salvage that situation. The early evening was setting in. Lisa lamented that she'd spent the entire day waiting there for Rick and wasn't sure whether to be mad, sad, or just worried for him. It's then a little puppy comes up to her, yapping cutely and looking needy and lost. She picks him up and comforts him while finding comfort for herself in his company.
What's your name? I'll bet you're hungry, aren't you? Well, I have plenty of food. I'll bet there's something here for you. How about trying one of these? This seems to be your lucky day, my friend. At least someone around here appreciates my cooking.
Shane! Shane! Where are you, Shane? Come here, boy!
I guess I'd better pack up and go.
Even that cute puppy had better things to do than spend time with Lisa. She felt deflated, like she'd been a fool. And just when she starts to head out, she hears Rick, finally, calling out to her, panting as he ran full speed to catch her, looking dapper in his nice suit and dashing scarf.
Well, stranger, it's about time.
I didn't even know if you'd still be here. Some really urgent personal business came up that I had to take care of.
Well, it's much too late to go on a picnic now. It's a shame, really, because I spent all morning cooking. It's the first time I've had a chance to do that for years.
I'm really sorry, Lisa.
You should have called me, Rick. I've been waiting here for hours.
I tried to call you more than once.
That wasn't untrue. He had tried to get a hold of her, and she certainly seemed more relieved than angry in this moment, but Rick was apprehensive, knowing he teetered on the edge of feeling her forgiveness or suffering her wrath. As she walks up to him, I gotta admit, I too was on the edge of my seat, wondering how this would play out. I was still rooting for them, rooting for Lisa, and that maybe Rick had a chance to make up for this mistake and make things right. And Lisa, in this moment, shows just how kind, gracious, and wonderful she is, by deciding to worry about the why this happened later, and just enjoy this time that they do have for now. They take a walk through the nearby park, enjoying the cool autumn air that was already giving way to winter, as Rick decides maybe Lisa could do with a little more warmth. And you can see the look on Lisa's face as he offers to wrap part of his scarf around her. What a touching moment she felt from that gesture. But Rick could have never predicted how that would be his undoing.
Rick, what's this?
Thought you might need it.
Here, I don't need it. You seem to have wrapped it around the wrong person, haven't you?
Lisa, I can explain everything.
Here, take it.
In the original Macross, this revelation Lisa has is made more clear, as in that version, she happens to see a special embroidery on the scarf. Initials that indicate Lin Minmei loves Hikaru Ichijo. Hikaru being the original Japanese name for the character of Rick. It was all she needed to confirm where exactly Rick had been all day and what he'd been doing. In the broadcast version of Robotech, though, they couldn't explain away the difference in the initials on the scarf. So Lisa deduces its origin in a clever way that I totally bought as a kid. But however she determines who gave Rick that scarf, the outcome is the same.
I recognize the perfume. It's Minmei's. So that was your urgent personal business, huh? Well, that's just great, Rick. Just terrific. Don't bother calling me for another date.
Oh. Hey, but Lisa, let me explain. It's not what you think. Lisa, wait. Please, wait.
Goodbye, Rick.
What a fool I am. First Minmei, and now I've lost Lisa, too. Oh, how could I be so stupid?
I'm glad Rick realizes just how stupid he was this day, and ultimately, I think he got what he deserves in this situation. Even though he had nothing but good intentions all around, he definitely made some poor choices, and I'm kind of glad to see him suffer the consequences of those choices, even if I felt as heartbroken for he and Lisa as they themselves felt. Rick had been left out in the cold, literally and figuratively, as the first snow of the year came down gently all around him, while he stood there in the park, all alone. just when you think this episode is ending, we're given a little more, as we see a derelict Zentraedi battlecruiser acting as the centerpiece to a beautiful lake alongside Monument City. Kyle has put on his promoter voice, welcoming the people of this town to this celebratory concert by the one and only Minmei. The crowd is amped up, hungry for the joy and the charm of their favorite famous singing star, an audience mixed of both human and Zentraedi fans. As Kyle whips the crowd into a frenzy, the stage dims and a soul spotlight shines on Minmei. The crowd's thunderous applause welcomes her, inviting her voice and songs to really wow them with this live show. But the cheers and clapping ring hollow in her ears. She seems resentful of it all, loathing every whistle, every accolade, almost like the part of her deep inside that loves to sing is broken. Yet the music cues up, the band gets going, and nothing. She just stands there. As the band notices she missed her cue, Kyle suddenly realizes exactly what's going on. He still urges her to sing, almost wills her to. If not for herself, then for these people she inspires. She simply smiles at him. A knowing and rather scary smile. It was almost like she was saying, this was all his fault. The crowd doesn't know what to do, but they show her support and love, cheering her on and calling out her name. Yet it was no good. She couldn't. She wouldn't sing. Maybe ever again. She abruptly apologizes to the crowd and says she just can't sing when her heart is breaking. Kyle is aghast at this declaration, and she throws him a defiant look. A look that shows him that as much as he thinks he has control of her, she is the one with all the power here. She runs off the stage, and the crowd rushes forward, out of concern, out of anger, out of a desire to help, but the stage manager wisely closes the shutters on the stage before they get far, ending the concert, it would seem. It took Kyle some time to find her, where she huddled by herself on the lakeshore. Before he could say anything, she told him this was all his fault. She admitted what a mistake it had been to bring him back to the battle fortress all those years ago, and how everything in her life since then had been slowly falling apart due to his meddling in every aspect of it. He was barely fazed by her words, throwing them back in her face, telling her she'd always been selfish ever since they were children. He tried to tell her that everything he'd done for the past 4 years was for her, because he knew that if she could just learn to harness her voice for the good of others, she could inspire the whole galaxy, bringing hope to everyone. Yet she only ever sang for herself. She knew him well enough to know there was partial truth to his words, but it was mostly lies. That he was simply deflecting any accountability for how much abuse he'd put her through all this time. She remained quiet and didn't say another word, knowing it would do no good. He'd just try to spin it back at her again. And you know, I think in her silence, in that moment, Kyle had an epiphany. Like he self-actualized to a degree. I think somehow her words sunk in right at that second, and he may have even realized that he really was doing damage to this person that, in his own twisted way, he actually did love. Kyle always seemed to be a tortured soul, even if that torture was mostly self-inflicted. It was like he studied kung fu and ingrained himself in peace movements in an effort to tamp down some natural internal darkness within. A darkness he maybe had hoped he'd already conquered, or maybe that Minmei's light could help burn away. And now, During this conversation, he finally realized that they really were just hurting each other, and that it had to end. He took off his jacket and put it around her as a parting gift, and declares that he's leaving. Not just leaving her, but leaving everything. Almost like he was going on a quest to find himself, to find that peace that was so elusive to him in his life. As he leaves, he wishes her the best, and that he truly hopes she can find happiness, even as he declares his love for her one last time. She continued to remain silent, and as the wind blows across the lake, Minmei cries and cries. Tears of sadness, of relief, but mostly the tears of someone who felt truly and utterly alone. The massive fleet of Zentraedi Supreme Commander Lord Dolza had attempted to wipe out all of the Micronian species, its culture, and the very planet it spawned from. Yet some areas of the planet, those with smaller populations of humans, were spared the worst of the attack from space that had rained down death upon the Earth. The Amazon rainforest was once such place, and in fact, with far less impact of mankind meddling with its ecosystem, the forest had robustly reclaimed a great portion of territory, even growing over the remains of a Zentraedi destroyer, a gunship equal to the size of the SDF-1 and already covered in life of all kinds. The ship infiltrated the rainforest like a predator, tearing its way into the nest of its prey. Inside the gunship, gigantic Zentraedi warriors toiled in hellish conditions, using engineering and repair training they'd received from the Micronians, before defecting back into the waiting arms of KHYRON. Even the Backstabber was sweating it out, working alongside his men as auxiliary power is restored to the ship, pleasing KHYRON. But as he checked with his team working on the ship's engines, he's informed that several parts and a power generator to fuel them would be needed before the ship could lift off, let alone be spaceworthy. This was expected, and KHYRON and Grell had already prepared a plan of where and how to steal a newly furbished reflex engine from the Micronians' main industrial warehouse district. KHYRON had decided that the time was now, and made a ship-wide announcement to his crew to prepare for this raid and for battle.
The events of this day will burn forever in the minds of the Micronians. They will know how KHYRON the Destroyer was able to crush them with her own protoculture. All will bow to KHYRON.
Around the Micronian civilization, it was Christmas time. The spirit of the holidays was alive and well all throughout New Macross City and its surrounding townships, with people coming together in kindness, cheer, and merriment. High above the city, the Skull Squadron was finishing its patrol, glad that there was nothing to report today. As Rick sends out his final instructions to his wingmen, you can tell he was mentally doing his job on autopilot, as his current thoughts were actually on Lisa at the moment. He still felt terrible how everything went before, and knew he'd screwed it up. Even though he'd never meant to hurt his budding relationship with her, he had only been trying to help an old friend in trouble. Rick knew if he could just talk to Lisa and explain everything, surely she would understand.
Roger, Captain.
Maybe if I ask Lisa out for some coffee, she'll agree to see me. After all, she can't stay mad at me forever. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Skull One, calling Captain Hayes. Huh? Sammy, where's Captain Hayes?
She's not on duty, Captain. I think she went home.
She usually works this shift.
I don't know what happened, but she didn't come in.
I see. Well, it's all clear in the eastern sector. We'll be returning to base now.
Rick was just kind of glad that Sammy didn't seem to know what had happened between he and Lisa, or else he would have seen some mischievous glint in her eye. But it seemed Lisa was avoiding him. He was pretty sure.
She's sure going out of her way to avoid me.
Far below the incoming Veritex, we find a couple of warehouse workers taking inventory of some of the more recent pieces of equipment being stockpiled, newly received from the Robotech factory in space, while they confirm the possession of a reflex power converter. We find that Rick has landed. As he makes his way into the base, he is constantly reminded of Lisa by every little thing around him.
Last time it snowed, Lisa and I were in the park together.
While the snow falls and Christmas time carries on, a certain trio of former Zentraedi spies are trying their hand at the retail end of the season, and things could be going better.
Here you are.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye now. And send your friends. Well, how we doing now, Bron?
Not very well. We've only sold 2 of them so far.
But I heard these toys were as easy as pie to sell at Christmas time.
Step right up. Buy now before they're gone. Maybe it's our location?
That could be. Why don't we try that other mall? There are lots of kids over there.
Let's go to the mall.
Yeah, the mall couldn't be any worse than this.
While they wrestle with their own entrepreneurial endeavors, Minmei sits alone in a park, not far away. It's almost like she was looking back on her whole life from the beginning, as she sat in a child's swing trying to figure out where everything went wrong and how to make it right. Since Kyle had basically disappeared, she found herself extremely isolated. Her friends in the entertainment industry were more Kyle's friends than her own. Her parents had been killed the day the Zentraedi leveled the Earth. Even her remaining family, Aunt Lena and Uncle Max, were Kyle's parents. She was truly trying to get away from anything that had to do with him. And she hated to rely on Max and Lena when they'd already done so much for her in her life. But more than that, she felt a need to find herself, to figure out not only who she really was, but who she wanted to be going forward. She didn't want to sing anymore. That dream had become more of a nightmare. She'd had other dreams, though. Other hopes for her life.
Sometimes you can't be happy unless you do what you dream about.
So are you sure that being an entertainer is what you want from life?
Yes, I guess. But I really want to be a bride.
You mean married? Well, I guess you'll probably make somebody a wonderful wife.
Thank you, Rick.
Remembering those other dreams made her think of Rick, of course, and that time they had their own private wedding. The time she asked him to kiss her. She wondered what would have happened if they had never been rescued, if she hadn't won that competition, if she hadn't let Kyle into her life. What was Rick doing now? She couldn't possibly impose on him after all he'd done for her already. Could she? As she considers this, Rico, Conda, and Braun were moving shop, hoping to find a better location with more kids to sell toys to, when Rico spots a kid hanging out at the park. It takes Braun only an extra moment to realize that's no kid, that's Minmei. Wow, how cool to run into her here. But as they call out to her, she throws on her incognito glasses as she books it, running away. They don't exactly take it personally, but do seem concerned at her hasty exit and apparent desire to be alone. As the snow continues to fall, we see at the base housing Rick making some tea and watching the news. He hears Minmei's name mentioned and that she'd been reported as having taken ill, but is now considered to be officially missing. It had been a few days since the incident in Monument City when he'd last seen her, and considering the state she was in then, he wasn't surprised she'd canceled performances. But he had a foreboding feeling about his friend if she'd suddenly disappeared off the face of the earth, especially when the news mentions Kyle's disappearance as well. At that moment, the doorbell rings, and Rick thinks it's maybe Lisa. He actually hopes it is, hoping that maybe she's not mad at him anymore and wants to talk. But finding Minmei on his front doorstep was one of the last things he'd expected.
Could that be Lisa? Nah, she's still mad at me. Huh? Minmei?
Hello, Rick.
Hello, Minmei.
May I come in?
Sure, why not?
I probably should have called you first. I'm sorry, Rick. I don't want to impose.
My friends don't have to call. Hey, what's wrong? Why don't you go inside where it's warm? Huh? Don't worry. It's okay.
I really like Rick's demeanor here, simply being accepting, comforting, and supportive of his dear friend, who he sees is in great pain. It's clear from her own posture that Minmei was hesitant to go to him, but he's immediately helpful. Whereas I think there's a lot of guys out there who might seize this opportunity with a vulnerable woman, especially one they'd been romantically interested in. But Rick is purely in friend mode with Minmei, much as he'd meant to be when he'd gone to see her the other day. He cares about her well-being, and the genuine warmth of that, the authenticity of that kindness, is something that Minmei has clearly been deprived of for a long time. As soon as she feels it, it pushes her over the edge to tears, and Rick simply tells her, "Don't worry, it's okay." He had been hoping it was Lisa, though, stopping by, but she had apparently been busy out with Claudia, taking in the show together. During their evening, it seemed Claudia had talked Lisa into giving Rick another chance and allow him to make up for leaving her hanging that day. After all, he had shown up, and it was her that stormed off. Lisa got in a taxi, and Claudia asked her to say hi to Rick for her, before silently wishing things could finally work out for those two. Rick had made Minmei comfortable while he shared his tea with her, mentioning how he'd been worried and wondering if she was feeling better now. She was, maybe almost too comfortable. She begins thinking out loud, complaining about her life, how she has no freedom, being constantly fussed over and controlled. It was making her so negative, she began looking at all she'd lost, instead of being grateful for all she had. Rick listens to what she has to say, but is pretty brutally honest, as any good friend should be, as he plays devil's advocate to her problems in life.
Everyone feels bad once in a while, but you're a great talent and that's something most people would love to have going for them. It sounds a little more like self-pity if you ask me, Minmei. You should be happy because of your music.
Well, if that's all I've got, then I don't want to sing anymore.
Rick could see there was more that Minmei wasn't telling him, and finally asks her if Kyle had finally ended, well, everything. She basically denies it and confirms it all in the same breath. As Rick continued to listen, she found herself pouring out all of her frustrations in life, but especially everything to do with Kyle, and how much she hated him now, and all the reasons why. While she did, the taxi with Lisa arrives, and she walks through the snow to Rick's door, smiling, excited to put all of this Minmei business behind them and move forward. She finds it a little weird that Rick's door was cracked open, but goes to ring the bell regardless, instead of letting herself in. Before she presses the ringer, she hears the raised and unmistakable voice of the last person in the world she'd hoped was here right now.
It got so bad I couldn't even talk to him about what I was feeling. I have nobody who understands, who will
But
take
that's
the time
Minmei.
to listen. None of my friends in the entertainment industry really know who I am. It's terrible. You see, Rick, I know you care. That's why I came. Please let me stay.
Oh man, you can see it in Rick's eye, how torn he is at this request. How much he wants to be there for Minmei and help her through this crisis. But he truly wanted to set things right with Lisa, and intended to explore that relationship if she was still willing to. And the biggest obstacle in the universe that could prevent that from ever happening was Minmei. Yet, how could he turn her away when she was going through the worst time of her life? Lisa could hear everything, had heard Minmei begging to stay with Rick, and prayed that he'd somehow turn her down.
And I don't know who else to turn to. Oh, please, Rick, please.
Well, I guess it's all right. If you're sure you really want to.
I can't believe this is happening.
Okay.
Hey, what's the matter, lady? Are you feeling all right or what?
Nothing. Just go away and leave me alone.
Some people.
Sure we could.
Do you really mean it?
I know. I'll have a toast in honor of Roy. And I know just the place he'd like me to do it.
Hi, Commander. Your usual?
Thanks, John. Tonight I think I'll have something stronger.
Sure thing. Something a little stronger coming right up.
I think you've had enough,
Here
especially
you
if
are.
you're driving.
Huh? What's she doing here?
This is my big day. This
Lisa.
Seeing Lisa sitting alone at the bar with the bottle nearby as she quietly sings Minmei's songs to herself is one of the most soul-crushing things I have ever seen. Even as a kid, I was devastated watching this. As Lisa drowns her sorrows after losing Rick to Minmei once more, Minmei wakes from what is undoubtedly the most peaceful sleep she'd had in some time. She's disoriented, taking a moment to recognize where she is exactly. But already, the many troubles she'd been feeling now seem much more clear to her. She owed all that to Rick's kindness and listening ear, and goes to find him, sleeping out on the couch like a gentleman, after giving his bedroom to her.
Rick is right. I was feeling sorry for myself. Huh? Aw. He looks so uncomfortable sleeping on the sofa. I hope he's warm enough. I'll just fix his blanket for him. Thank you, Rick. Good night.
It's a tender moment all around and helps illustrate that, for all his flaws, Rick really is a good dude deep down inside. Minmei sure sees this, and even as she feels the regrets of her life and how she'd pushed Rick aside before, it was hard not to feel a new well of love for him springing forth within. On Christmas morning, most of New Macross City was waking up with family and excitement and reasons to celebrate. But for Lisa, it was another day of work. That's all she had left, really. I do love this shot of her Jeep approaching the SDF-1 on the bridge, as you just see how massive the Prometheus carrier alone is, stuck at this awkward angle, attached to the broken battle fortress. Lisa was still wondering what to do about Rick and Minmei, if she should do anything at all, or just let her have him. Between those sorrows and the fact that she was clearly hungover, even her own driver offers to radio the base and tell them she isn't feeling well and he's taking her home. She denies his offer, anxious to get on with her duties and keep her mind off of this nonsense. The girls at the base were planning a Christmas party, but noticed Lisa may not be in the partying mood. Sammy wondered if maybe things had gone south with Captain Hunter, and Kim wonders if maybe it's time they mind their own business. But Sammy shows her exactly what she thinks of that. Far out in the industrial area, some poor schmo is taking a smoke break, glad that even if he's working on Christmas, it's still a decent job with good pay and easy hours. It makes sense why, as he finds out firsthand what a high-value target zone this sector was for an enemy attack. As the pods move into position, he does try in futility to call out a warning, which is only answered by the laser fire spelling his demise. Lisa considers the Christmas party the girls are throwing together, as Vanessa tells her it's just a small get-together with the old bridge crew and some guests.
Why don't you invite Rick? I'm sure he'd love to come with you.
I don't think he'll be able to make it.
Today's supposed to be his day off.
He's at home with a miserable cold.
This is ground-based security. Zentraedi forces are attacking the industrial section. Emergency communique for all sectors.
Scramble alert. Repeat, all barracks. This is a scramble alert.
Max and MIRIYA prepare to lead their squad into battle, as Lisa sends out further orders to all sectors. KHYRON and his troops pile into the industrial section, but KHYRON is quickly getting annoyed by Grell's lack of direction towards their target. The military moves through the busy shopping district of the city, warning all civilians to head toward shelters and evacuate the area immediately. KHYRON and the others have exited their pods to begin the search for their targets, completely unfazed by this first wave of attack from these pathetic Micronian fighters.
These Micronians are no match for my power.
While the Zentraedi continue their search all around the industrial district, Admiral Gloval and Exodor notice they appear to be looking for something. They further extrapolate that, considering where their attack is concentrated, they're clearly looking for the type of equipment they might use to repair a battle cruiser. Therefore, Gloval tells Lisa to inform the flight groups to defend those areas in particular. Lisa carries out the order as Max and MIRIYA race there with their squadron. However, an entire battalion of Quadrano power armor led by Azonia lie in ambush. They tear their way through the Veritex with their initial attack, but MIRIYA knows exactly how dangerous these Quadranos are and exactly how to deal with them. Max kicks into high gear as well, even as their squadron around them struggle with the nimble power armor. In the middle of the fight, MIRIYA seems to recognize the piloting of her former commander, Azonia, as Azonia does the same, noticing MIRIYA even in all this chaos. It seems to me they are having a hard time at the thought of killing each other, which complicates the fight all the more. While the civilians take shelter in churches, shops, and anywhere they can find cover, the news broadcasts a bulletin on the attack, and Rick is surprised and angry that this is the first he's hearing about it. Why wasn't he called into action against such an assault? Though he was pretty sure he knew why. He couldn't just sit idly by, knowing Max and MIRIYA and the rest were putting their lives on the line. Minmei used to encourage him to be a soldier, to fly, knowing he was the best and couldn't lose to anyone. But now, she could hardly bear the thought of him going into battle, and begs him to at least be careful. Rick is a little shocked and maybe even a little annoyed at how dependent and possessive she comes across in this, but he promises he'll be safe all the same. He gears up, launching Skull One into the sky, and heads in to help. KHYRON finally uncovers his target, the reflex power converter he needs for his gunship. We see just how strong a Zentraedi is as KHYRON shoulders the entire converter, an impressive feat even as he shows strain. He calls for cover fire as he prepares their retreat. Closer to the SDF-1, away from the battle, Minmei busies herself shopping, but overhears the news on the shop radio talking about the intense casualties of the ongoing battle. Minmei has truthfully been through a fair amount of action herself. She has experienced more than her share of trauma in war. Hearing of the intensity of the battle raging not so far away, knowing Rick is there, she's struck with anxiety, dropping the pineapple in her hand. Its crash on the ground like the explosion of a bomb to her. She makes a hasty exit with the rest of her goods and rushes back to the safety of Rick's home. KHYRON prepares his escape with his new acquisition as the rest of the battle pods scatter. Rick orders Max and the rest that they need to block their escape routes and end KHYRON for good. MIRIYA finishes her duel with Azonia, watching as she escapes, possibly letting her, as Max arrives and passes on Rick's order to assist and cover him. And none too soon, as a Cyclops shuttle pod begins descending from the sky right near KHYRON. He and many other pods board the ship as it prepares to flee, while Max and MIRIYA race to help Rick stop it. Rick's gun pod alone isn't quite enough to stop the ship's ascent, even as a terrifying broadcast from KHYRON echoes across the land. His own twisted joke on Micronian culture and their traditions.
Attention, Micronians! This is KHYRON the Destroyer. I want to wish all the people of Earth a Merry Christmas, and I send you a special greeting from Santa Claus. May all your foolish holidays be as bright as this one.
KHYRON was now resorting to suicide bombers. As these Santas detonate, the explosions cause massive damage down among the civilians. As much as Rick wants to pursue KHYRON, he knows their first duty is to protect the people. He orders Max and MIRIYA to cease their pursuit and head to the city to help. Though he knows it's the right thing to do, Max is unsettled at having to let KHYRON get away with this. Infernos rage all around the city as Veritechs return equipped with fire-retardant missiles, trying to fight the blaze. As the fire gets under control, the pilots work tirelessly to rescue people. And I love this shot of MIRIYA gently carrying children huddled in her Battloid's hands as she tries to reunite them with their family, showing so much concern for them, having recently become a mother herself. The damage to this section of the town is catastrophic. The hospital's full, as servicemen and emergency workers work tirelessly to save people after this horrific attack. These images on the news only grow Minmei's concern for Rick until she can't bear to watch anymore. Yet, even in this catastrophe, the people of Earth, human and Zentraedi alike, band together in places of shelter and worship, remembering what Christmas is all about, grateful to still have each other and be alive. Minmei found herself turning to her own faith, praying that Rick was okay. Rick had returned to base unharmed, needing time to file his reports, and whether he ran into Lisa or asked to meet her there near the Prometheus, we aren't told. He confronts her for not calling him into action, hearing from Vanessa that Lisa said he was sick. He wondered, why would she lie? Lisa wondered that herself for a moment and didn't really know exactly how to answer, except to remind him that for his own security, he really should remember to close his front door completely. And just in case he didn't catch the drift, she straight up tells him she knows all about Minmei staying with him. Rick wasn't ashamed exactly, but just felt like they were hiding things from each other. And maybe that was the problem they'd always had with one another. Hiding things, holding back their feelings, cloaking them under the decorum of their service together. Rick offered no explanation about Minmei. Maybe there was nothing to say to each other after all, in the end. In other circumstances, this would have been a truly romantic moment, as the SDF-1 lights up in the spirit of the holidays, looking truly remarkable. Its very visage spreading cheer and hope as it's enjoyed by Rico, Conda, and Braun, who seem to have met up with Vanessa, Kim, and Sammy as their guests to the bridge Christmas party. Max and MIRIYA also enjoyed the sight of the incredible space fortress that had saved mankind. But no one enjoyed it as much as baby Dana, much to Max's chagrin. Minmei had continued to pray, and finally, her prayers were answered as the front door opened, and in came Rick, home safe and sound as promised.
What's the matter?
I'm sorry.
Hey, I told you I'd come back.
I can't help it. I'll be right back. I'm going to wash my face. I must look awful.
Rick is stunned at the impressive and lovely-looking dinner Minmei had made them on this night. A night that would have already been special, considering the occasion. But it seemed Minmei intended to create one of the most memorable evenings both of them had ever had. Rick had been hesitant to allow Minmei back into his heart, yet it seemed that his path with Lisa had maybe reached a dead end. And with Minmei reasserting her deep feelings for Rick, he began to wonder once more if maybe it had always been destiny. That he and Minmei were always meant to be together. As she lights the candle and gently, almost seductively, blows out the match, she wishes Rick a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Rick only wishes they have a million more like it ahead as they stare into each other's eyes. Minmei can't help it, won't wait any longer. She moves in to show Rick her feelings for him. And even though he waits but a moment, considering what all of this means, he moves forward to meet her, and their lips embrace, their love for each other unbridled at last. Ever since the arrival of the mysterious alien spaceship that crashed on MACROSS Island, which the people of Earth had repaired and now claimed as their own, the leaders of the world had dreamt of duplicating the immense super-dimensional fortress, even amassing a mighty fleet of them. All of this to protect the world from the inevitability of extraterrestrial forces. Forces that they knew would eventually be encountered. As the Earth prepared a fledgling fleet to begin this expanse into space, the crown jewel of this fleet, the SDF-1, was barely ready to begin its maiden voyage before those extraterrestrial forces, the Zentraedi, found their way to Earth and attacked, seeking to capture the ship and find the secrets within that had been denied them by Zor and the other Robotech masters. In the end, Zor's battle fortress had saved mankind from certain doom at the cost of being nearly destroyed herself. Plans had been made to recondition this icon for posterity if nothing else. But with the world so ravaged by Dolza's fleet, there had been other priorities to attend to. As the Earth rebuilt, Henry J. Gloval had become the supreme commander of the armed forces, by merit as well as somewhat by default. As he oversaw the protection of this world, he also saw the need to expand beyond it. Thus, he worked with Britai, Exodor, and his Zentraedi allies to commandeer the Robotech factory satellite and begin building the fleet that would allow mankind to go forth, spreading their influence and culture to the galaxy. The first of many of these ships had been completed at the factory satellite. The SDF-2 was very similar to its predecessor in design and size, nearly indistinguishable at a glance. Even now, it was being prepared for arrival in New Macross City to touch down near the SDF-1 in preparation of a grand ceremony before its launch as the first colonization ship of humanity. The command module that had been serving as the headquarters for the defense forces on Earth would soon be installed in the tower of the SDF-2, as the old SDF-1 began its own reconstruction and would again take its place as the headquarters of Earth's armed forces. These plans had been kept top secret, and even Lisa, in her position coordinating the flight groups of the RDF against the continuing skirmishes with Zentraedi rebels, had not been fully briefed on the upcoming plans of Gloval, Exodor, and the rest. Unfortunately, she'd found herself rather distracted of late on matters a little closer to home. She hadn't been able to get over Rick's decision to let Minmei stay with him, right when it seemed like they'd finally had a chance together. It all felt like a bad joke, one where she was the punchline. Although she'd had an accomplished career, she had always imagined she'd meet someone, and they'd live their lives together. But most of the men in her life had been military, and that lifestyle took them away from her. First, Karl Reber, when he went to Mars and perished there. And even her father, who died before her very eyes. And she didn't even like Rick at first, but fate kept throwing them together in different ways. They just seemed drawn together, especially when she resisted that. And now, just as she opened her heart to him, his was stolen away by the irresistible Minmei, the girl who'd attracted all the men of an entire race of beings. What chance did Lisa really have, she felt? Even if they'd made it work and things had blossomed, they were both soldiers, and there was always the chance one of them would face the same fate as Karl and her father. But it was almost worse that it hadn't ever worked out, and if they'd continued to be stationed together, she'd have to still see him every day, a constant reminder of what she'd lost and who she'd lost it to. Lisa needed to find more to her life, needed to find herself, needed more than Rick or her commission or the weight and responsibility of defending the world. She needed a change. When Claudia found her to give her some good news, she could see that Lisa was upset, the tears in her eyes revealing her desire to give in to despair, a feeling Claudia had known and conquered, and she refused to let her friend succumb to it.
Lisa!
What?
What are you doing out here?
Nothing, really.
Admiral Gloval sent me to look for you. Why aren't you on the bridge?
I needed to be alone. I'm thinking about resigning.
Huh? You must be joking.
No, I'm serious, Claudia. I just can't take it anymore. The Army, Rick.
Claudia goes into drill sergeant mode and reminds Lisa what duty is all about, reminds her how strong she must be, how strong she's been, and what a fighter she truly is. Whether it was about fighting for her heart's desire or fighting to protect the Earth. But Lisa was just done.
But the military is your life, Lisa. You can't be serious about resigning your commission.
Yes, I am. I have to get away.
You mean run away?
I couldn't work with Rick and then watch him go home every day to Minmei. You understand, don't you?
Claudia did understand, in a way, and could see that nothing she was saying was breaking through, such was Lisa's state. But if Claudia couldn't get through to her anymore, there was one other who possibly could. Claudia informs Lisa the reason she'd come to find her. Admiral Gloval wanted to see Lisa right away. And if the reason for that request didn't pull Lisa out of the depths, then maybe nothing would. Rick had a lot on his mind too, especially concerning his own future in the military. Minmei had been wonderful to have around in most ways, and he was very happy to see her smiling and feeling safe and almost her old self again. But there were certain cracks appearing in the foundation of their friendship. the kind that made him cautious over the idea of building on that foundation into a real relationship. He certainly wanted to see her happy and knew she made him happy, but there was a codependency between them that a free-flying Rick recognized as shaky ground on which to build a future with someone on. Minmei had already expressed that she had no desire to continue her singing career, and even though Rick was supportive of her decision, he felt that had to be temporary. He knew singing was her dream, and her recent setbacks in life would pass and she'd carry on. She did seem to be enjoying a home life, experiencing it really for the first time since she was a teenager. But Rick couldn't shake the feeling that they were just kind of playing house. Also, she'd seemed so concerned when he'd last headed into combat, and the way she'd been acting lately. How long before she asked him to give up his dreams of flying, as she gave up her singing? And if they did that, could they ever really be who they truly were? They used to encourage each other to follow their dreams, but could they forsake them for the sake of each other? Minmei could tell Rick had a lot on his mind, and thought maybe this was a good time to tell him what had been on hers.
Why is he so distant? Rick, what are you thinking about?
Nothing in particular.
Oh. Rick, what if you quit the army and I gave up my singing? I mean, could you be happy if we settled down and had a normal life?
I don't think we could.
But why not? There's so much more to life than this, and we're missing it.
But so many people are depending on us, Minmei. They look for me for protection and you to give them inspiration and hope.
Life sure is funny, isn't it? Nothing's turned out the way I thought it would. When we first met, I was totally caught up in romantic dreams. And some of the dreams actually came true, but not the dream I had for you and me. Oh, Rick, we still have time. Let's get married.
Married? Minmei?
Well, at least think about it, will ya?
Yeah, I will. I'll think about it.
Not long ago, it's all Rick would have ever wanted in life. But at this point, he wasn't so sure that if he had to answer now, that the answer would be yes. While our heroes wrestle with the feelings in their hearts, fighting on the battlefield of love, the Zentraedi rebels led by KHYRON ignite their stolen reflex engine power converter within the grounded gunship deep within the Amazon. As the systems of the ship hum with new life, all sections glow with renewed energy, and Azonia announces that full power has now been achieved.
Reflex furnaces are stable, sir. We have full power. We are ready.
Good. We will leave immediately to rejoin the Robotech Masters. But before I leave Earth, I want to destroy the SDF-1!
You want to do what? Serious.
It seemed that forsaking this pathetic planet, heading back into space to rebuild their forces along with the Robotech Masters themselves, would have to wait. KHYRON's impatience, his need to see his foes vanquished first, now took priority. The power of this craft as it broke free from the growth that held it so stubbornly, rising into the sky with its engines roaring, was an ode to the might and glory of the Zentraedi forces. A glory KHYRON aimed to reclaim with this ship. He and Grell knew from past experience that if they stayed relatively low to the ground, they could slip past the Micronian sensors and close in unseen. The range of the weapons on these ships was terrifyingly long, of course, and it wouldn't take long to achieve firing distance and end the SDF-1 and the Micronians it protected once and for all. Aboard the SDF-1, within the old bridge, Admiral Gloval pondered the decisions he had forthcoming and the lives they would affect. It felt natural to come to such conclusions in the well-worn command chair here. a place where he'd needed to be decisive, be a leader, without ever forgetting the weight of that command and the lives entrusted to his hands. The decisions he must make this day, though, would affect not only those lives, but all the lives of humanity for generations to come. And no one would be quite as affected by it all as Lisa Hayes would be. She entered the bridge, noting she hadn't set foot inside in years, and she was surprised how comfortable it felt, and how it seemed nothing had changed, as Gloval gets right to business.
At ease, Lisa. I have called you here for a briefing on your new assignment.
I'm sorry, sir, but I can't take a new assignment.
And why not?
Sir, I've decided to resign. In my state of mind, I'm no good to myself or the service.
Lisa had made up her mind. She couldn't reconcile the turmoil in her heart with her duty, with Rick, with everything. And she only hoped Gloval would understand. He didn't.
You're talking nonsense, Captain. You can't disregard your duty because of some stupid romance. You're just going to have to grow up because I need you now more than ever before.
You mean you knew?
I have eyes, haven't I? Of course I knew about you and Captain Hunter.
I'm pretty sure he was aware for a long time, even all the way back to the first time the ship returned to Earth.
Be a woman. Stop moping and smile more often. Captain?
I want to be informed the moment we have completed supply loading operations.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It has already been so ordered, Captain Gloval.
Is there anything else that I should know?
Nothing of any particular importance, Captain. I was just briefing Commander Hayes on military procedures of quite a different nature when you arrived on the bridge.
Well, it's unlikely we'll require any hand-to-hand combat expertise, but carry on.
It's funny how serious and overwhelming the situation with Rick and Minmei had felt to her these last few days. But now, hearing Gloval speak of it this way, she realized how utterly silly it all really was in the grand scheme. It made her feel childish in a way, but also grateful to Gloval and his pragmatic approach and view on the matter. He was right. Nothing Rick or Minmei could do, should, or would deter her from her own life and duty. She stood ready to accept whatever orders Admiral Gloval had for her, but never could have imagined what he would say next.
Oh, I feel like a perfect idiot. Of course my duty comes first, Admiral. What is the assignment?
Good. Construction on a new battlecruiser has just been completed, and I want you to command it.
My own command?
Because you're the most capable and experienced officer in the entire command, the choice was an obvious one. It's a long-term commitment, though.
I understand, sir. I accept the assignment.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, sir.
It was quite an honor, Lisa felt, to be even considered for this immense responsibility, this unprecedented commission. And now that their business had essentially been concluded, Gloval took a moment to impress upon Lisa the grand purpose he had for her, for humanity, and drive home the vision of it all to Lisa. Gloval was growing older, and was consigned to the fact that he'd never ultimately see mankind fulfill its destiny. That was for a younger generation, for Lisa's generation, to enjoy. He showed Lisa this view from the bridge of the earth below. It was a rare sight for anyone to see these days. The gorgeous view of the rebuilt city, the glistening mountains beyond, as the morning light sparkled against the vistas of it all.
Step over here, Captain. I want you to see this.
Oh, what an incredible view!
Yes, our Earth is a beautiful planet. It's sad to think that we'll have to be leaving it soon.
Leaving? What do you mean, sir?
That's what the new ship is for. The time has come for mankind to grow up and leave its cradle behind. To go forth and claim our place in outer space.
Sir?
That's our assignment, Captain, to follow the trail of the Robotech forces into outer space and to try to find their home planet. Mankind's survival depends upon us. The human race couldn't possibly survive another Holocaust like the last one.
But our defense system has been vastly improved, and we were good enough to defeat the Zentraedi, weren't we?
For the time being. But even as we speak, Captain, the Robotech forces are speeding back to their home world for reinforcements. And you can be sure that when they return, we'll be no match for them. Even our highly sophisticated defense systems would be useless in a warfare of robotechnology. Earth destroyed, they'd return safely home. That is why I intend to make certain that the next battlefield will be on their home planet.
But where is it?
We'll find it, and we'll put an end to this war by destroying their capacity to make war.
Lisa understood the mission, the importance of it. It made her own menial problems she'd been facing feel so trivial. But those troubles, those feelings, were as real as anything, and needed to be resolved before she could leave them. Leave Rick back on Earth forever. Rick's thoughts were very much in the clouds at the moment, knowing the newest generation of Veritech fighters were due for testing soon. The VF-4 Lightning was a next-level aircraft from the VF-1s, packing all the power and maneuverability of the Super Packs, all contained in an aerodynamic frame built to adapt to any environment or reach escape velocity under its own power, without the need of an atmospheric escape booster utilized by the VF-1 series. Rick could hardly wait to get his hands on it. Roy had been completely right about this Robotech stuff being so exciting.
You promised my dad that as soon as the war was over, you'd come back to the air circus. Why did you go back on that promise, Roy?
I really felt guilty about letting your father down. Only, this Robotech thing is so exciting, I just couldn't give it up. It just gets in your blood or something, I don't know.
That had also been the first moment Rick had noticed Minmei, too. And now here she was, willing to spend her life with him, finally. But only on the condition that he gives up Robotech, gives up flying, gives up his duty to protect the world and the people who needed it, like his big brother who had been a true hero.
Roy was right. Once you get this Robotech stuff in your blood, it's there to stay. How could I ever give up flying, even for Minmei? She just doesn't understand. She's beautiful and sweet, and she'd be a wonderful wife. But I can't even think about settling down now. The SDF-1 needs every available pilot. I can't quit. Lisa would understand. I'm sure she feels the same way I do.
Rick, didn't you hear the doorbell?
I wonder who it could be. Lisa, I mean Captain.
Hi, Lisa.
Minmei was rather wary about Lisa, knowing she was competition in the running for Rick's heart, and she was certainly suspicious, if not gracious, seeing her come to Rick's doorstep like this, especially with that look in her eyes, a look Minmei read perfectly. The fact that Rick had just been thinking about Lisa again, and how she knew Rick and understood him better than even Minmei ever could, certainly made her appearance here startling to Rick. The moment certainly embodied Rick's troubles of late, being caught between these two women, the girl from his past, his old self, behind him, while he looked forward to the one that might have been, maybe even should have been. Lisa was surprised how much it hurt seeing them together in Rick's house that she even used to come and tidy up for him. Even if he had invited her in, she probably would have declined, but Rick didn't even seem to know what to say. That was okay. She didn't need to stay long to accomplish her mission here.
I came to say goodbye. You see, new orders were just handed down. I'll be going into deep space soon. It's true. I can't believe it, but Admiral Gloval has given me the command of my own battle fortress. Isn't it wonderful? It's like a dream come true. My own command at last. Aren't you happy for me, Rick?
Minmei seemed shocked, kind of amazed, and actually happy for Lisa. But Rick could only feel loss, knowing Lisa would be going away forever.
When are you leaving?
Tomorrow. My assignment is to try to find the home of the Robotech Masters, wherever that may be. Admiral Gloval is hoping that we may discover the source of robotechnology. If we're successful, we could develop defenses that would be invulnerable to any future attacks by the Zentraedi or anyone else. It won't be easy, of course, and all of us realize this mission will probably keep us in deep space for several years. I'm not fooling myself about it. I realize it's possible we may never come back.
What else could Rick say? It was the opportunity of a lifetime for her. He knew it was perfect for her, knew she could do anything. And if this is what she really wanted, to go away.
I'm sure you'll be successful.
Thank you. Goodbye now. It was a real honor to meet you, Miss Minmei.
Thank you.
I mean it. Your music has been a great inspiration to us all. I hope you and Rick will be very happy together.
Minmei was actually touched at Lisa's words and grateful to her. But Rick continued to stand like a statue, at a loss to express how he truly felt about all of this. Yet Lisa knew what to say, knew to finally follow Claudia's advice at this moment and let Rick know exactly how she felt.
And now, Rick, I have just one more thing to say. I love you. I always have. And I always will. Oh, please forgive me, Minmei. But I may never see him again. And I had to tell him.
I understand.
Take care of him for me. Bye, Rick.
Lisa, I don't know what to say. I mean,
Good luck, Captain Hayes. God be with you.
Thank you. I have to hurry. My crew is waiting. Goodbye.
Hey, wait a minute. Lisa!
Come back! You can't
Wait.
go! What about me?
But
I've already done more than your share. How could you even think of going back into space again?
Rick didn't know how to make Minmei see, how to help her understand about flying, about his duty, and especially about Lisa.
Because they need me.
I need you too! Huh? What is it?
Oh no! It can't be! We're under attack!
Rick's first instinct is to protect Minmei, to grab her and get down, allowing the force of the blasts to blow over them, even as it tore apart their surroundings. But his second instinct was to make sure Lisa hadn't been caught in the blast, make sure she was still alive. He ran after her as Minmei followed, and KHYRON's final assault was just beginning. To go from this declaration of love to Rick's knee-jerk reaction, Minmei running interference, and to top it all off with a massive surprise attack was a real whiplash watching this as a kid, and certainly caught my attention. It was almost as if the sudden devastation all around our heroes matched the surprise attack and devastation each of them felt internally at that same moment. KHYRON's attack was so fierce, I couldn't imagine how the good guys were gonna get out of this one. Rick's quick thinking saved he and Minmei once again, but even I was worried what happened to Lisa. I'm sure Rick was hoping Minmei would seek shelter, but shouldn't have been surprised she followed him as he ran to find if Lisa was okay. Rick ran through the city streets, already bathed in fire and heat, bodies strewn about, like running through hell itself. But he'd go through hell and back to find Lisa if he must. As he searched all around, he fortunately hears a familiar voice groaning not far away. Running to where Lisa was lying, he worried if she was seriously hurt. She read that look in his eyes and quickly reassured him she's all right, while also being moved that he'd come after her. Immediately, she began assessing the situation all around, as these two soldiers automatically begin working the problem together, as they had several times while watching each other's backs.
No! Lisa! Lisa! Oh no.
I'll be all right.
Just take it
It
easy.
was so sudden, what's happened?
We're under attack. It appears to be Zentraedi weapons.
You mean they've sent reinforcements?
No. I don't think it's reinforcements. There's only one ship.
If only they'd communicated this clearly and quickly in their personal lives, as well as their professional. But if Rick had learned anything in the last few minutes, it's that there was no time to waste, and after her heartfelt declaration of her feelings, he also needed to open up and tell her how he felt, while they still had time. Lisa's first instinct was to get to the battle fortress and do her duty, but as she faints a bit, Rick is there to catch her, and knew he would do so for the rest of their lives, however long that would be.
I've got to get back to the SDF-1.
Wait! You're not going anywhere. You're too weak. I'll take care of you, Lisa, because I love you.
What? What did you say, Rick? I'm not just dreaming this, am I?
And there it was, that overdue declaration, the thing they'd been holding back from each other for far too long, afraid the other wouldn't reciprocate, wouldn't share those same feelings. They'd gone back and forth for so long, only growing closer in that time, but always afraid to take that next step. Now, there were no more boundaries between them, no more disguises or hiding or dancing about, no more running away. After everything they'd experienced together, they knew and admitted to each other they loved each other and were truly meant to be. Yet, as wonderful as that was, to finally realize together, they both knew how much this was bound to hurt Minmei.
Oh, Rick, thank goodness you're all right. Come on, we have to get to the shelter. Oh, please, Rick, come on. You can't leave me like this.
Minmei would have done anything to keep Rick out of danger, but more than that, to keep him by her side. And to Rick, that illustrated one of the biggest differences between Minmei and Lisa. He loved them both, and they loved him, but Minmei had grown completely dependent on Rick for her happiness, and refused to let that go.
You can't go. What about me?
She was being so possessive of Rick, and maybe that was from her own immaturity, or the fact that Rick had been chasing her early on, and she'd inadvertently took that for granted. She had no ill intent here. She was just lost and clinging too tightly to him, expecting him and others to fix her own problems and help her be happy. Contrast that to Lisa, who from the very beginning simply cared about what she could do to help Rick be happy, even encouraging him early on to not give up hope of a life with Minmei, despite her own growing feelings for Rick. She was ready to let Rick go if she had to, if it was best for him, and continue working on herself and her own happiness if she must, even to the point of leaving Rick, Minmei, and the entire Earth behind. Rick cared for them both and would have them both be happy. The boy in him loved the girlish charm of Minmei and her can-do attitude, her talents, her smile and ambition. But the man in him had more in common with Lisa, her ability and strength, and their similar goals to help and serve others, to defend humanity and its allies, and work together to solve the problems of the world. Rick had to trust that Minmei would be all right, and wished he'd had more time to discuss this all, but circumstances in the form of KHYRON prevented that. Yet it was Lisa who, characteristically, took charge to let Minmei know what the current situation was all around.
Listen, Minmei. Rick and I are both soldiers and we have our duty to perform.
I know that, but...
Listen! If you really love him, let go of him.
What?
He's a pilot. That's his life.
You call that a life? War, devastation, battle after battle until everything is destroyed?
We're trying to put an end to all that, Minmei.
We hate this war as much as you do. We're fighting to preserve the future of all mankind.
There's no future.
We have to go,
Don't go, Rick. Stay here.
I can't.
Please.
Minmei, let go of me. If you don't understand it yet, after all that's been said, then there's no chance you ever will.
I don't understand. How could you do this to me if you love me? I won't let you do it, no!
Minmei, stop that. I want a normal life as much as you or anyone.
Then why?
I can't think about myself. Not when the future of the whole human race is at stake.
No, Rick,
let go, Minmei.
Please.
Let go.
No!
Someday you'll understand, Minmei. Someday you'll understand.
Understand? I'll never understand. Oh, Rick!
Kyle's influence ran deep, it seemed, as Minmei voiced his similar anti-war sentiments. She cried after Rick as he left her, still unwilling to let him go, let him fight, which goes to show she'd forgotten what Rick was first and foremost. A hero. KHYRON's ship was still many miles away, and from this distance his sensors could only make out the familiar silhouette of Zor's battle fortress, without realizing he was actually seeing the newly landed SDF-2 sitting back to back with the legendary vessel. All KHYRON knew was they'd soon be within firing range, and he would finally wipe that infernal fortress out of existence. Lisa entered the newly installed bridge of the SDF-2, getting a status report from Vanessa. Ideally, they would have had time for a shakedown to break in this new ship, but there had been barely time to warm up the engines, let alone power up the untested weapons systems against this attack. KHYRON could tell as much, and would not give it the chance to mount a counteroffensive.
SDF-1 now coming into range, sir.
Main gun at full power and standing by.
My revenge is well worth waiting for. Admiral Gloval is going to wish he'd never heard of me.
Enemy ship still closing fast. Range now 20 miles. I'm getting high-level radiation readings.
Vanessa?
They're firing on us, Captain.
The main gun of KHYRON's ship was not as powerful as that of the SDF-1's, but it didn't need to be. The surrounding city melted under the blast of his beam, the brunt of it smashing into the middle of the SDF-2, blowing away many of the systems and personnel inside the new ship, rupturing every section as Lisa, Vanessa, and the rest screamed as the Earth's best defense was destroyed all around them. Rick had just gone up, his squad readying their defense, when he saw the blast strike the SDF-2. The light had been blinding, and just as Rick recovered his vision, his wingman reported to him the condition of Lisa's ship.
SDF-2 has taken a direct hit. We've lost communications. It looks pretty bad.
Yeah. Pretty bad, all right.
Sir, they're listing. They're sinking, Captain.
Minmei and the other townsfolk, on their way to emergency shelters, watched in horror as they witnessed the SDF-2 descend to the bottom of the lake, feeling the same sinking feeling in their stomachs, wondering if mankind would survive this final Zentraedi assault. Rick tried desperately to get a response from the new battle fortress, from Lisa, but to no avail.
Come in, SDF-2. SDF-2, do you read me? Lisa! Captain Hayes! Lisa, it's Rick! Answer me! They'll pay for this!
Even as his squadron engaged with KHYRON's contingent of fighters and power armor, Rick quickly slices through them all, heading for KHYRON's very ship. He assaults it with everything Skull One can throw at it, ready to tear this ship apart piece by piece and kill KHYRON for good. Damage control systems worked to put out fires and mitigate losses as crewmen scurried about helping each other. Sammy and Vanessa both confirmed they had no helm control and power was draining quickly. Lisa had to face the facts. The ship was lost after such an attack, and what was left of the crew had to abandon the SDF-2 now or become part of its watery grave. As Lisa considered what to do, what Captain Gloval would have done in this instance, she realized that they still had one other ship, one that had come through for them time and time again. And if Lisa knew Gloval like she was sure she did, there was a chance he'd already considered it as a contingency. Lisa headed out and her crew followed. It didn't take long to make it all the way to the bridge of the SDF-1 at their speed. However, the girls were all somewhat surprised to see Claudia and Gloval had already had the same idea and beaten them to their destination.
Welcome aboard, ladies. What took you so long? Now get to your positions.
It's Claudia!
And Admiral Gloval!
Don't just stand there. We have a job to do.
You mean, sir, will the ship still fly?
Well now, there's only one way to find out, isn't there?
Yes, but what about the weapons, sir? Will they work?
They should, as long as the power supply holds up.
What about the main gun, sir?
Enough power for one firing. We'll have to make sure it's effective. Okay, battle station.
Yes, sir. Computer countdown is already programmed, sir.
Give me maximum power on all thrusters.
Power levels at maximum capacity, sir. All systems are go. Ready for immediate liftoff on your mark.
Drive system is operational and the clock is running. 4 seconds to ignition. 3, 2, 1.
Take her up.
Hey, look! The SDF-1 is taking off! It's taking off! It's true! The SDF-1 is taking off! Come see for yourself!
I can't believe it!
That's wonderful! I've never seen anything
Wow,
like
look at it go! Our prayers are answered!
Main gun gun in ready position, standing by. Energy reading at present, 950.
The Admiral was right. That's only enough energy for one shot, so make it a good one.
The VOL.06 squadrons, including Max and MIRIYA's, had been engaging in a fierce battle directly with KHYRON's gunship, denying them the ability to react quickly to this new threat rising from the water. But none had caused so much disruption as Rick had. He still bravely tore through the weapon systems on KHYRON's ship until he swore he heard a familiar voice coming over the comm. The most welcoming voice he could have hoped to hear in that moment.
Rick Hunter, is that you?
Lisa! I must be hearing things!
No, you aren't. I'm aboard the SDF-1, Rick.
We are preparing to fire the main gun, so I strongly suggest you get out of there.
You don't have to tell me twice!
As Rick abandons his relentless raid of vengeance, he's spotted by MIRIYA, who calls to Max to help fly cover for Rick as he makes his escape.
There's Rick. Let's fly cover for him, Max.
Roger. This is Skull Squadron number 1 and we're moving out.
Lisa radios them all, telling them to hurry as the main gun is nearly ready to fire. Rick, Max, MIRIYA, and the other fighters make their hasty exit from the battle, just in time for Gloval to give the order to fire. A powerful shot from the SDF-1 bursts forth, quickly crossing the miles of distance to KHYRON's ship. While lacking the power the SDF-1 used to have, the blast is enough to decimate a good portion of KHYRON's craft as it tries to evade, wrecking the powerful cruiser and ruining KHYRON's glorious victory. But not this time. Not again. Even missing an eye, with Grell dead on the floor behind. KHYRON would not let victory be snatched from him by these Micronian insects once more.
All right, they've had their fun. Now it's our turn. Now I'll show them.
Now what?
They cannot erect a defense barrier without any power, correct?
Right. They're helpless. Get them.
We both will. It requires a sacrifice. Are you willing to face it with me, Azonia?
It will be glorious.
Yes. Glorious.
This final shot of the SDF-1 had stressed it beyond its limits. The once mighty ship's own main gun pylons disintegrating as the ship, now drained of power, began settling back towards the lake, with Lisa and the rest of the crew holding on as it descended. Yet KHYRON would not let it go that easily. He and Azonia had locked the guidance systems of their ship onto Zor's battle fortress to make one final attack against it.
Sammy, do we have any power left?
Not enough to activate the main gun again, sir.
Kim?
Same story here. I have no helm control.
Our reserve power is depleted too, sir.
Brace for collision!
What's he doing?
The damage done to the SDF-1, to Macross City all around it, had been catastrophic. Although KHYRON had somewhat won this Pyrrhic victory even in his own demise, he would have been annoyed to know that although the city had been destroyed, the people of Macross had once again survived, thanks to the super-dimensional fortress that protected them. But the cost had been high, and this would be the last time the SDF-1 would or could save mankind. As for the crew who had guided her in her purpose, Rick flew around and around, trying to find any survivors, unable to ascertain if anyone had lived through the collision which had finally beaten the mighty battle fortress, if Lisa was still alive, and, by some miracle, she was. He found her at the water's edge, looking no worse for wear, and landed near her, simply hoping he was not seeing a ghost.
Lisa! But how? Oh, Lisa, I thought you were...
At the last moment, Admiral Gloval pushed me into an ejection module.
In the novel, we experience the scene as Lisa tries to get the ship to respond, but it's Gloval who knows she must be the one to usher mankind into the future. He and Claudia together basically make Lisa take the small ejection module to safety, as the rest of the crew meet their fate. Although Lisa was grateful to them and saddened at their sacrifice, she knew there would be time to mourn, to process it all. But she was so overjoyed to see Rick in this moment, to see that he was safe, to know they may finally have a future together after all. Minmei saw them too, and her heart swelled with warmth knowing they had survived this tragedy. Her eyes filled with tears as she approached them, tears of joy, but also sorrow. Yet seeing them together felt right. She had to admit it to herself, as she felt the confirmation of it in her heart. And in this moment, she knew this was Rick's destiny, to fly, to fight, to save others. And she knew she must let him go.
I thought I'd lost you, just when I'd come to realize how much you mean to me.
Rick, Lisa, thank heaven you're both all right.
I have to tell you something. Minmei...
You're in love with Lisa? I knew that.
Forgive me. Will you?
Oh, Well, yes, I can forgive you if you can forgive me.
Why?
Well, for trying to turn you into something you aren't, and, for pretending to be something I'm not.
Rick wasn't sure what she meant exactly, but he could guess. She confirmed that she was running away from her own dreams before, her own destiny, by attempting to settle down and have a normal life. But seeing Lisa and Rick come together in their shared destiny of fighting to save mankind, she had realized that it was her destiny to inspire it, to give it hope, just like Rick had said.
But so many people are depending on us, Minmei. They look for me for protection, and you to give them inspiration, hope.
Lisa shared with Minmei her gratitude and appreciation to Minmei, and her admiration for the choices she was now making to follow her dreams once again. Rick was elated to see both of these women whom he cared for, whom he loved in so many ways, come together as friends, as they all gave their unconditional support to one another. As Minmei prepared to move on and let this new happy couple come together at last, she gave Rick one parting kiss, asking him to never forget her, no matter what, as if he ever could. As Minmei waved goodbye, heading off to become her true self, to make her path to her dreams once more, Rick and Lisa watch her begin her journey as they take in the ruined city, the destroyed ships behind them, and wonder, how do they now begin their journey?
Rick, what about our mission? Both of our battlecruisers have been destroyed. How can we get to the stars?
We'll build the SDF-3, Lisa, and together we'll get there. Yeah, we'll go to the stars and beyond. I promise you that, Lisa.
We will.
Be my love, share my dream, my hero.
Yes, we will. We'll go to the stars and beyond.
Rick Hunter and Lisa Hayes, together at last, ready to lead mankind as it expanded out to the stars and beyond. Although their story would continue, this chapter of it, this saga, had come to a close. The first Robotech war was over, and as I watched this album shut and Lisa's hand move away before it faded to black, I felt amazed at this epic tale I had witnessed, this grand space opera that had so captivated me. It's only now, looking back on it, that I realize how much influence on me it's really had, and to what lengths it shaped me as a person. The lessons of war and peace, of love and hate, and the brave heroes and terrifying villains who taught me all of it. I couldn't have been more satisfied or more excited to see what else Robotech had to offer. The Masters, the Invid, the Bioroids, Alphas, and especially the Cyclones. There was still so much to experience, but it would be years before I could see it all in its entirety. Thanks to Bash, though, we at least had the MACROSS Saga to tide us over. To show all my friends, and to relive again and again. I'm grateful to you all for reliving this journey with me, and hope you have all found this series as inspiring as I have. There's more yet to come, but for this portion of Robotech, I hope I've helped show you at least a few of the reasons of. Here's why it's cool. Super Dimension Fortress Macross, the beloved mecha-driven space opera that comprises the first third of Robotech, ended its original run in Japan in 1983. And this was not the ending that had been planned for it originally.
1, 2.
Macross was supposed to end with the rebuilding of the SDF-1 Macross itself, restored to its former glory and might, with a final celebration to the ending of Space War I. Minmei, back to following her dreams of singing and inspiring, gives one final massive concert, inaugurating this new era of mankind. Although some concept of an SDF-2 was in the production of Macross, it was eventually scrapped altogether in favor of the mighty new Earth colonization ship, the Mega Road 1. Commanded, of course, by Lisa Hayes. Misa Hayase. She and Rick, Hikaru, still friends with Lin Minmei, extend a personal invitation to her to join this first human expedition into deep space. This new Mega Road ship absolutely dwarfs the SDF-1 in size. And as it lifts off to head to the center of the galaxy, we're left with the knowledge that Earth is safe, mankind and the Zentraedi together now thriving on this cradle of humanity, as the larger story of Macross moves away from the Earth and out into the stars beyond. All of this, of course, is a massive divergence from where the story of Robotech would inevitably head from here. And honestly, the ending to Macross and where its story goes is probably a happier ending for the Earth and its people than the rather bleak and trying events that follow in the story of Robotech, which would see the Earth suffer not one, but 2 more alien invasions that would take their toll on an already wounded world. But we'll get to that. Upon its inception, Macross by itself was planned to be an even bigger adventure of 52 episodes. But the production run of episodes ordered was cut in half due to many factors. However, as the TV ratings and viewership increased, and of course the toy sales of the Valkyrie Variable Fighter, the real star of the show, were through the roof. Therefore, the powers that be ordered an additional slew of episodes to round off the series, which is why episode 27, Love Drifts Away, or Force of Arms as it's known in Robotech, feels like such a climactic finish to a great deal of the storyline in the show up to that point. But after that, we get an additional 9 episodes, thanks to the extension given to the show's run. This extra set of episodes is mostly used to emphasize the love life of the show's 3 main leads and wrap up their romantic love triangle. And ever since I was a teenager and found all of this out, I couldn't help but wonder what other cool story and adventure we could have had, given another dozen episodes or so. And thanks to the OVA craze anime went through in the 90s, or OAV, whatever, we got to see a glimpse of that world envisioned by the creators of Macross. Macross Flashback 2012 finally gave them the chance to show the big send-off to Minmei, Misa, and Hikaru they'd always wanted to give them. This universe would be even more fully fleshed out by 1994's amazing Macross Plus, which actually found its way to Western shores soon after, with an English dub involving many Robotech alumni, like Roy Foker's Dan Warren and Ben Dixon's Richard Epcar. The main character, Isamu Alva Dyson, had an amazing voice actor who I really liked in the show, but didn't hear in much else. And for the longest time, I'd wondered whatever happened to him. Until one day, I was shocked to learn he'd been none other than the legendary Bryan freaking Cranston.
Say my name.
Bryan freaking Cranston.
Goddamn right.
Come on and show me what you've got.
Macross Plus's Planet Eden showed us that Captain Gloval's dream of mankind's immigration into space, colonizing other planets, spreading its culture and influence to the universe, was being fulfilled as he had hoped it would be. Speaking of Gloval, his death in battle, along with Claudia, Sammy, Kim, and Vanessa, is one of the sadder changes between Robotech and Macross. Because in Macross, it's not just Lisa who survives. Thankfully, they all did. In fact, Gloval himself goes on as head of the Defense Forces, eventually moving into a comfortable and well-deserved retirement. He even plays matchmaker for good old Sammy, setting her up with a well-to-do family where she goes on in love, success, and prosperity with her husband and, I believe it's 11 children, if I'm not mistaken. Vanessa retires from the military after some time and becomes a hostess and eventually head of a high-class club in New Macross City to great success. She even ends up marrying Rico of all people, or Loli as he's known in Macross. He, along with his two cohorts, never quite hit it big with their entrepreneurial endeavors, so he plays stay-at-home dad to he and Vanessa's 3 kids, along with the other 2 spies. Kim never does quite find the right guy in her life, but her military career is distinguished. She rises through the ranks, even becoming the captain of the MACROSS 13, and eventually the commander of the entire UN Spacey for a time. She eventually settles down on planet Eden, where Macross Plus takes place, and lives out her days at the General's Mansion there, where a military school bearing her name was founded for future generations of officers. As for Claudia Grant, or Claudia LaSalle in Macross, it remains unknown exactly what happened to her to this day. Perhaps she remained on Earth, or maybe settled planet Eden, or it's possible she went off with the Mega Road 1 when it headed out. I used to pretend that Kate from Macross Plus was possibly Claudia's daughter, but really there's just no confirmed fate for Claudia after Macross. The character Edgar in Macross 0 is probably her brother, although that's never been officially confirmed, though they share the same last name of LaSalle. But other than that, there really isn't any mention of her in the aftermath of the original series. Whatever path life took her on, I could only hope that perhaps she found love again, while still always fondly remembering Roy, and continued to give wonderful advice to those closest to her. One character, though, who has remained a constant figure throughout the Macross universe is the amazing Maximilian Sterling, or Max Genius, as it were. Max and MIRIYA both have amazing careers and missions in the military for many years to come. He even becomes the commander of the 7th Macross Fleet and captain of the flagship Battle 7. Exodor actually joins him as an advisor on the fleet's journey, back in his original giant Zentraedi size. Although, don't ask why his head now looks like broccoli. MIRIYA becomes the mayor of City 7 in the fleet, and protects it almost single-handedly for a short time at one point. Max and MIRIYA have their ups and downs in their relationship, as most folks do. But despite that, they increase the size of their family from 1 child to 8. Each of them have some unique adventures of their own, too. Little baby Dana, or Comilia as she's originally known, becomes a fighter pilot of great skill, rivaling that of her parents. She joins her Uncle Britai on many missions protecting the Earth, while also finding love with a fellow pilot. Another daughter of note is the youngest, Elaine, whose accomplishments as a member and singer in the superstar band Firebomber play a major part in the war with the Proto-Devlin. When she isn't singing with her bandmates, Mama MIRIYA can't help but try and play matchmaker, trying to betroth her to some worthy individual, a situation Elaine wrestles with throughout her own story. But what of Hikaru and Misa, and Minmei for that matter? Well, we do know that Misa and Hikaru do get married, with the full support of Minmei, and every other person in the world grateful to see those two finally together. And the two of them do have at least one little girl, Miku. With Misa as captain of the Mega Road, and their much-lauded departure from the Earth with Minmei, the ship began its journey towards the center of the Milky Way, and all contact was lost. To this day, after all of these years, it remains a mystery exactly what happened to them. Yet certain teases have been sprinkled throughout Macross Frontier and Delta, mostly surrounding the mysterious enigma of Lady M, the head of the organization Chaos, an entity that seems to be pulling the strings of many of the military institutions and companies involved in the galaxy long after Space War I. Even Max, in a new Macross movie released as recently as 2021, appeared as the captain of the Macross Gigassian, working to protect the universe under the direction of Lady M. When a radicalized organization named Heimdall moves in an effort to locate and destroy Lady M specifically, Max leads a fleet of Macross ships to thwart Heimdall. The ensuing battle opens a super dimension fold rift, and Max is amazed to see within it the Mega Road 1. And based on the damage around it, she's seen better days. More than that, he can just make out what appears to be two of his old friends near a window looking back at him. Max and the heroes of Macross Delta succeed in defending the ship, and he even finds a chance to fight alongside the other brave pilots, which includes Max's own granddaughter, Mirage. The rift closes once more, leaving many questions as to the fate of the Mega Road, as well as its crew and passengers. Who was that in the window? Misa and Hikaru? Hikaru and Minmei? Or it might have been Misa and Minmei together, but whomever it was, it seems likely it was at least 2 out of the 3 characters of that original Macross love triangle. As to what Lady M stands for, well, that's still being speculated on for almost 20 years now. Perhaps the M is for Mega Road, or possibly Misa, Yet, considering what Macross 7, Frontier, and Delta all teach us about fold waves in the universe, and their connection to music specifically, there's a good chance that Lady M is a certain person whose dream it always was to sing for the entire galaxy and bring it together. We may never truly know what happened to everyone after this original series, but Macross, for the most part, at least has a very optimistic view of the future and mankind's place in it, fulfilling that dream Gloval had of spreading our people and culture throughout the galaxy. When it comes to Robotech, and where the story of that goes from here after KHYRON's final attack on the SDF-1, well, this is certainly where the show diverts from its source material, specifically for Rick, Lisa, and Minmei, who follow a fairly different path than their Macross counterparts. All of you watching this have almost certainly heard of Robotech's planned sequel series, The Sentinels, and its doomed production. But it did further the tale of Rick and Lisa Hunter, and in the few episodes that were animated, we were at least treated to being able to see their wedding. Rick and Max are still best pals, so of course Max gets to be Rick's best man.
The curtain's about to go up. Here. I'm an expert when it comes to these things. There, it's a matter of finesse.
Thanks a lot, Max. I guess I'm just a little clumsy this morning.
You're lucky to have me for a best man.
I'm grateful.
Oops. Oh, hey, maybe you'll start a trend.
And with Lisa's own father being long since perished, it's Zentraedi who gets to give away the bride.
Sir, it is my honor to give this bride away.
Minmei attends the wedding, along with her new BFF and singing partner, Janice. And I quite enjoy the way they get along with each other, especially knowing that, with Janice, there's more than meets the eye. Although Claudia doesn't survive the ending of the Macross Saga, we do get to meet her brother, Vince, and his wife, Jean, who become good friends of Rick and Lisa. Their son, Bowie, becomes best friends with Max and MIRIYA's daughter, Dana. An important duo in other Robotech adventures.
Mom, I still don't get it. How can Lisa be Rick's wife? I thought he already had one.
Dana, I think you've got him confused with somebody else.
But Mom says he's married to his job.
We never quite get to see more than a glimpse of the SDF-3, or witness the launch of it on its mission to journey to the homeworld of the Robotech Masters. And I've lamented for most of my life that this sequel to Robotech never got fully produced. Fortunately for those curious, there are comics and, of course, the Jack McKinney novels that may help fill in that hole in your heart, yearning to see what happens to these characters on this journey. And maybe we'll make a video or two about it one day. But for now, rest assured that the SDF-3, as well as the remaining heroes of the Macross Saga, embarked on their mission to the stars and beyond, leaving the Earth behind at this time. And as it happens, the fate the Earth is left to face is far more dire than the end of the original Macross series. On its journey to find the Robotech Masters, the SDF-3 passes them by like ships in the night. For the Masters have been making the journey to Earth already, to the last proto-culture matrix kept buried in the remains of Zor's battle fortress. And they don't intend on asking for it nicely. But do not fear, as the Earth stands in the care of the vast and powerful Army of the Southern Cross, and a new band of heroes stand ready to face the Robotech Masters and continue to defend the Earth.